AI is evolving fast. Are you ready? Meet AI at Flightbase, your weekly hub to learn, upskill, and stay ahead in AI world. Let's dive into today's session.
Hello guys, so today I want to talk about Codex and show workflows and features it provides as a real operating surface for engineering work. So what I want to do first is set a bit of context about how these tools work and are like in practice. So most of us here already are using AI agent workflows, AI in our daily tasks, in our coding tasks, and through chat surfaces and coding assistants and etc. This much is already established that AI can write code and it can do tasks. But the more interesting question and the direction in which the community is growing towards is what does the workflow around the model look like and what kind of engineering behavior does the product encourage? I guess this is where Codex feels different to me. So, feels different in practice is that there has been a lot of discussion around AI community around Cloud Opus and GPT, like Cloud versus Codex kind of thing. What matters more is something like a working style. People have gone on the internet and told that in experience, Codex felt more better. In my experience, at least, Claude often feels like working with a very enthusiastic engineer who wants to work to get the task done quickly and keep moving. But Codex feels more disciplined by default. What I mean by that is when I work with Codex, I can usually see that it is going through files, it's understanding the task at hand, it is understanding the architecture, and it's asking the right design questions. And to get this sort of behavior in other agents, it's very controlled environment kind of thing through skills and stuff, so that this sort of behavior is established. And even then it's a lot of grounding, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So but Codex it's different. It's more disciplined by default, and obviously that comes with a trade-off that Codex is really slow when it comes to tasks. But the upside is the fundamental difference between vibe coding and engineering. So with Claude, you don't know what's going on, you don't know what it's doing. But with Codex, you're forced to get involved in the process and make those design and architectural decisions that are more important when you're working in brownfield projects or projects that you want to maintain over a long period of time. Let's get into the thing now. So this right now is Codex, and there are multiple ways to run Codex through coding, through IDE extensions, through CLI, and also other extensions. But what I like to use is the app. Obviously, if you're more friendly with terminal interfaces, then you can obviously choose the Codex CLI. But my go-to default is the Codex app, and that is because I feel it's more orchestration friendly, and it gives out more features and it enables parallel orchestration of AI agents. So in the screen, you can see that there are multiple projects on the left that I created, and in Flightbase we work through different projects. And so within each project, if you can see, I have multiple chats opened, and the multiple chats, and essentially the idea is all of these chats are working on a feature or maybe a task, and they are working independently. Within a project, I can create a new chat and I can work through work trees, and that is something that is really important. And you can do this. Currently, there are applications like Conductor and Superset, which expose this kind of functionality where you can work through multiple work trees within the same project. And essentially, the idea of work trees is, suppose there is a project this is a sample project that I took from GitHub. Change the design schema of this project. Essentially, if I want to change the design schema of the whole project, I can say something like change the design orangish color orangish theme. At the same time, I want to experiment with multiple other colors as well. So what I can do is essentially I can create a new. So essentially what this does is it creates a new work tree, and this enables parallel orchestration through isolation, and that is a really important thing to enable speed and conflict resolution. So within Codex, so what you can do is it offers something called environments. When this new work tree is getting set up, I can choose to run a default set of commands. For example, in this, I only want to run npm so I can, for example, I created a npm run dev as an action. So essentially, what this does is whenever I'm creating a new work tree, these actions are run. For example, when this work tree was created, npm I was run automatically so that the directory is ready for testing and such. Codex also provides with an inbuilt terminal and stuff. So now imagine that you're working with like 10 repositories and all of them have like a few work trees going on. And if I want, specifically if I want to run some commands through each of these, then what makes it easier for me is using this app called CMux, which is available for Mac as of now. So what this app does is it enables workspaces. Right now, I can work through different Git trees and different workspaces, and these are going to stay for a long time so that I don't have to navigate every time. And it is built for using AI as well. So that is another really interesting tool that you guys can check it out. Yeah, as I was saying, so these agents can run parallelly, and essentially it boosts the speed of your development cycle. Like Codex also offers a lot of settings that might look minor, but they are really useful when it comes to everyday software development. So Codex is also available for everyday use. So here in the settings, so I can like I showed you previously, I can change, I can set up environments, I can manage my work trees here, and I can also make some Git configurations about how I want my commits to look, how I want my branches to look, and all of that. And you can configure your hooks, your MCPs, these standard AI agent things. What I want to focus on here is the config.toml. So this is very important when it comes to Codex. So how Codex works is it works through feature flags. So a lot of new features that Codex provides are essentially through feature flags. And if you're not enabling these feature flags, you might be losing out on these features, right? So OpenAI has a really good documentation about this here in feature flag. So if you scroll all the way down, you can see what each of these feature flags represent. And so here you can see these are the feature flags that I use in my daily workflows. So multi-agent is basically sub-agents. Memories is something that I'll come back to later, but it's a really cool feature to use as well. And you can set up your sub-agents here with separate instruction files and stuff. And you can also set up your MCP. So that's also something that you guys can check it out. If you felt that Codex is not up to the mark, it may be because you have not enabled the best features that it provides. I say, so there is also agents.md, which is Claude.md parallel for Codex. So you can set this up to provide with some guidelines and instructions for your daily usage. Now let's go into what this memories here mean. So memories is actually a very interesting thing to use, and Claude also provides with memories. And usually when someone says memories, what you mean is maybe your skills or your documentations that record all the data from the tasks that you manually make. But these memories are auto-generated by Codex itself. Not Codex, the global Codex directory called memories. And these memories are auto-generated by Codex, and they are used through various projects that you work on. So essentially, why these memories are better than what maybe any other AI agent provides is, if you look at this file, it's almost 2000 lines long. And if you look at the raw memories, it's almost 4000 lines. So these memories consist all the chats that I have had with Codex and the summaries of each of these chats. And this is a smaller memory summary dot file, which helps Codex to not fill up the context by surfing through these 3000 files. And if you look at the rollout summaries, these are all the chats that I had with Codex and their summary. So essentially this becomes very crucial. This is really cool and important because if you're starting a new chat, you don't have to set the context because the memories are already there, and those memories are rich enough for the agent to surf through and understand what you're saying on top of what's already built. So this is something that you guys should check out if you haven't already. Yeah. So next, I also would like to show plugins that Codex provides. These plugins are like connectors in Claude. If you guys have used connectors in Claude, these are like plug like that, but just more accessible, I would say. So essentially, what these plugins do is they connect directly with your application. So plugins is like your agent can access those apps very easily without burning a lot of context and tokens and stuff like that. So I use Slack, Gmail, and GitHub a lot, but there are a lot of amazing plugins, even including Hugging Face and Cloudflare and such. What these plugins essentially do is, suppose, for example, one of the use case I use for Slack is through Slack, I get any customer issues that are being faced, and I just copy the link on Slack and paste it on my Codex chat, and it just does it end-to-end platform. Then it provides with an RCA directly in the chat itself, and if it's an issue from our end, it raises a PR by fixing that issue in a new work tree. So it's really cool, and it's completely automated from end to end with these plugins. Essentially, if you use Gmail, you can just wake up in the morning and use the Gmail plugin to kind of summarize all your mails. And similarly, you can use ClickUp, Linear, and all these other apps. Something Codex provides with is automation. So how these automations work is, so I set two automations, and these run every day at 8 p.m. in the night. So they will be running in 5 more minutes. So essentially what happens is a new chat is created, and this whole prompt is sent into that new chat at 8 p.m. every day. So what I do here is I check for new PRs that were raised in this repository, and I check comments of each of those PRs through the plugins. And once I find those comments, I update my guidelines or skills that I have configured to work in that repository, and so that I don't make the same mistake while raising a PR. So it's more like these automations, I personally use them as a feedback loop to upgrade my skills, to upgrade my guidelines, so that the agent doesn't go into what they call the AI slop. If you check out the templates, Codex provides these by default. You can every morning you can check out, you can ask to check out your ClickUp or Linear to clean up your daily tasks and check for new customer issues if there are any. Essentially, the possibilities are endless, right? This is one of the really cool things that automations bring to the table, and in 5 more minutes we should see these automations running. After so I also want to show some live demos where some chats, essentially, to show how Codex is different from other agents like Claude. Maybe I'm using Claude CLI in this case, and the Codex app. So if you look at this chat, so essentially I took out a repository. So it's just a simple dashboard. And what I asked it to do is change the whole design system to match with flight-based design system. But essentially, I wanted to change the design system of this. Gave like one huge prompt. So you can see that Claude actually starts working on it immediately. And Codex asked me like 5 questions before it even made a code change, and I had to just say go for it without reading it for now. But essentially, as a software developer, you would want to read these decisions that it's trying to make. So once that all its changes are made, essentially Codex also, by the way, supports an inbuilt browser, so it's easier for development and QA. But essentially, this is what I get at the end, right? That looks like this to this. And on the other hand, what Claude provided was, so it's you can see the differentiation that happens through various design system discussions and decisions. And even for the sake of a time, I already ran the pink and the orange ones as well. So you can see those things are also done. But essentially, the idea is that Codex asks you all the questions, and this is an old repository from my college time, and I asked it to refactor it because I've written some clumsy code, and it just made some minimal changes. And I asked GitHub to raise an MR, but it made some really simple changes. But Claude, on the other hand, has just cleaned up the whole. It made some lot of core functionality changes, which were not really necessary when it's a matter of only cleanup, right? I also asked it to make a 80s arcade snake game, and you can see the actual difference when the agent is rushing versus the agent is actually deep diving through what is actually needed, right? You can see the difference really. So, and essentially that's what I'm trying to explain here. So open AI documentation also has like a really good read on what they call harness engineering. I would suggest you guys to give it a read. It's a really important direction in which the community is growing towards. And also one more thing I really wanted to show, but something that's not yet start using really soon, is that if you look at this is what they call symphony. This is also like really cool. So and that's the whole thing is done through plugins, and Codex just understand the problem and it deliver and through linear in this case. And essentially after a human review you can just merge it, and yeah, there you go. So this is also something that's really interesting by OpenAI Codex, and that's something that I would like to integrate real soon. And also there is another thing that I feel Codex does better than Claude per se is browser use. So Codex does it through a browser extension here. So if I ask Codex to navigate through my browser, it actually does it comparatively really well. It takes screenshots and it operates through DOM, but I just feel it's much more smoother when compared to Claude, which gets really stuck up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Shashank, while you are sharing your screen again, I guess Manish has raised his hand. If you don't mind, we can just
Yes,
this doubt.
yes, sure, sure.
Yes,
Hi, Aaron. Hi, Sasan. First of all,
Yes.
thank you for the session. I have a question regarding the like Sasan. So on the plan mode. So in the in the cloud cloud code we have the plan mode, right? We can like understand the plan, what is like how it gonna the problem, what will be the architecture and all. So is there anything similar there on the like this codex?
Yes,
Or
absolutely.
is
So
it by
if
default run on the plan mode?
yeah, you so here you can see, if you can you guys see my screen? So here you can see I can enable the plan mode. It works the same. It provides with a really good plan. It works through iterations. It asks us the question. So more than just plan, what I would like to call it is what Codex feels more like is it decides on its system design and it creates some specs and then it makes a plan. So it's more, not just simple plan. It's essentially now it would create an MD file which has the plan and it would ask you to approve the plan or not approve the plan. So it's not really simply plan to implementation, but it feels more like design where it asks you the questions, creates a spec document for you to understand, and then makes a plan which is not more towards architecture because that is covered in the spec, but more towards the way it's writing code, which is also very important when it comes to software engineering. So that is the kind of direction I feel Codex really works in, right?
Shashank, we do have a similar questions, I guess. So Anand has asked on the similar lines to what was presented in the beginning, how to run code in parallel for Cursor and Cloud Code as well.
In Cursor and Cloud Code, that is a good question. I think for Cloud Code, if you want to unlock this parallel orchestration through isolation, then there are applications which do this, like Conductor and Superset. If there is someone else who knows, then they can, I think, answer the question.
So Anand, we do had this kind of session previously. One of our senior developers also took the same session on the parallel thing where he shows the same. applications that Shashank mentioned. I will drop down the link so you can just check out that recap and you will understand more.
Yeah. May I ask one more question? Sasank, is there any multi-agent mode available on Codex? Let's say I want to run multiple agent on some problem, like I divide the problem and run the multiple agent. Is it possible on the Codex?
Yes, so I think you can do this through multiple ways. You can either run sub-agent. So essentially, like I showed you in here, so if you check out these feature flags, there's a flag called multi-agents here. So this is true by default for everyone, but if it's not, then you can enable it. And once you enable it, you can define your sub-agents. For example, I use a reviewer sub-agent, which has a defined set of instructions of how to review code. Similarly, you can use to make some execution sub-agents, which maybe use superpower skills and stuff like that.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
And I can. So even when you're running the reviewer sub-agent, actually the UI is quite intuitive. You can see what the reviewer sub-agent is doing, if it's stuck anywhere, and stuff like that as well. So
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
right. Yeah, that is all from my side. So if you guys have any more questions, so as you can see, the reviewer is spawned. So
guys, feel free to ask the questions, and if you are shy and don't want to unmute yourself, you can just drop your questions in chat box as well. So yeah, otherwise you can unmute yourself as well.
And yeah, and also, by the way, one more thing is GitHub. This has a really good Git integration as well. So I can create a branch here. Suppose call it test, and here the branch gets created, and I can raise a PR from here directly. If you don't want to do it through the GitHub plugin, and if you want to manually raise the PR, you can still do that here. So you can create a PR, domain, title, description. You can commit and push, and that's it. It's done. So if you don't want the agent to do it automatically, you can do it manually still. So that's another thing. It's 8 actually. Yes, so you can see there is a monorepo PR review agent that was spawned, and it ran at 8, and similarly for this one as well.
I guess screen is stuck because you are on the OpenAI developers page. Like if you are showing something in the Codex CLI or something.
So here you can see. Yeah, so you can see that there was one agent that was spawned here to answer the previous question. And if you have a really big plan with multiple features, what you can essentially do is Codex provides the ChatGPT chats as well inside here only. So you can select your project and make a plan here. And once you have your plan ready, you can go into the Codex projects and deploy those plans through multiple chats. So I create a chat, I put one feature, and then I create another chat, I put the other feature prompt. So essentially you can do that through ChatGPT as well. So this is like ChatGPT with more your code context. You don't have to go to chatgpt.com and give your code context there anymore. The time is, it's past 8, and you can see that the automations were run automatically, and they have checked if there were any new PRs, and probably updated the skills that I used and all that stuff. So that is also one thing that's really cool. And also, since I have connected Slack and I use Slack a lot, from my Slack messages, it sees what are the bugs that are recent, and it suggests here itself if you want to fix them right now. So it's really a one-stop system. You don't even have to open your IDE anymore here. So, and also, if you're sometimes the agent makes a lot, goes haywire, so, and does a lot of crazy changes, and if you don't like them, you can undo them. This is something that's available in Claude also. If you guys don't know this, there is a command called undo in Claude Code as well, which just undoes the changes if you are scared that the agent broke something. Codex also by default provides a review system. This is like GitHub review system. So if I don't like some changes, then I can just add a comment here, like how you review your PRs. And I add a comment here saying change this line, and that comment gets added here, and I can just send all my comments in a similar way to the agent.